So what are we doing? As you can see, we made our 45 cuts. Hi, I'm Larry. This is our channel, Miller's Rods and Mods. I'm just your average guy that works on anything and everything, big or small. From custom fabrication to routine maintenance, we pretty much do everything here, all DIY. In the process, my family and I do our best to have a little fun. So follow along and enjoy. So what are we doing? We are going to pull that rear out and we're going to start on this frame stretch. It's been long enough. Let's get started.
It's a pop tire.
Yeah, that's a pop tire. Take out 6 more bolts, okay? And then I'm done.
And this is a pop tire. Yeah. That looks like a waddle.
Easy. Don't break the light.
Red. A red. I have my red. I have my red. I want to do.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
Okay, we're back. We got all the excess brackets that came with this frame, these frame rails. All those are taken off, all the bolts, things that we don't need. So now we're down to a bare frame, and I'm going to show you here what we're doing and kind of what my thinking process is here. I just want to be very careful with how I do this. I might be wrong, I might be right, but I'm going to go with what this is telling me. So let me switch around here and I'll show you. Okay, so here's the idea. We have 64 inches from the back of the cab to this line, and we need that much to make the frame long enough. We'll go over how long that is later on. So I marked a line here, and then I did a 45 degree down this line here. The only issue with that is that it's not as much surface area. So you could go and make your line longer, which this is 20 inches, and then that's more surface area that you're going to be welding. And it kind of stretches out the area where it's going to flex and where the stressing can be. The only problem with that is this is the only leftover I have, this piece right here. And this is going to go on the inside of the frame rails once everything is put together. So I need as much material as this as I can. And so I think I'm just going to go with the 45 straight down. I know that the longer angle will, you know, make it'll push the load out further rather than having it on just a line like this. But considering our circumstances here, I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to have one side's going to be cut down like this, and then the other side's going to have the same dimensions here, but only we're going to cut it like that. So it'll be flip-flopped on either side. I was just told by an old timer that I had talked to, they used to stretch frames where he used to work, and this is how they used to do it. They would do one side this way, one side that way, so it kind of helped the frame a little bit when it started to flex and move around. Alright, so we're going to go over a little bit of the measurements. Basically, it's pretty simple. We need these frame rails to be at least 340 inches long to be on the safe side, to make sure that the box fits. From the back of the cab, as you see right there. There it is. All the way to the tail. So these frame rails are 23 inches long, which I think I've written down here. Yes, it's 276 inches is 23 inches, or 23 feet. So then we basically 340 subtracted by 276, I believe, is around 64. Yeah, 64 inches. So at a minimum, we need to have the frame rail over there at 64 long, and then that'll give us what we're looking for as far as 340. So we're gonna go and make these cuts, and we'll come back. Alright, we made a lot of progress here. As you can see, we made our 45 cuts on the original chassis and then the extra piece here. We're also trying to figure out how to lay out the inner piece that we're going to have, which is right there. And we also made the cut on the other side, as you can see. They're not perfect. It's pretty darn close. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm putting a level or a straight edge on the frame, on the front piece and the back piece, and you can see that there's very little gap here. You want it that has none, so we're going to tweak on it a little bit more, but that's so you can get this frame straight with that frame, and then you do the same thing. You put the level on the top to make sure that one's not like sitting backwards and one's sitting forwards. This frame here, I made sure that was level before we did any of this cutting, so it's level, and so as long as we can get the back true with the front, we'll be fine. So I'm going to clean up the edges here. I want to clean all the paint and rust and all this other crap off of here to get ready for welding. We sat this piece up so I can better demonstrate what I'm trying to explain. So this piece here is going to go in the inside of the main rail here, the whole way down like this. And what I want to do is I want to round these edges here and here, so there's no sharp edges. When the frame flexes, it's not like, you know, digging into anything that it's not supposed to, not putting stress on one point of the frame up here or back here. Like if you have it, you know, I want it that it's pretty strong. So we're gonna round the edges. Not sure how far, we might just like round that a little bit like that. And then this one up here, we're probably gonna do a little shorter because I'm not gonna drill into this one set of the cross member bolt holes. It's a mess to try to do that. So we're just gonna make this end shorter, so that it'll end up right about here, and then it'll come all the way down, and then we'll have it again right here. And then these white holes are the cross members, or bolt holes for the cross member, which is right there. And we will be drilling through both sets of the frame. And so we'll have a cross member here, and then a cross member over there, and then right in between will be our split. And then we'll also have bolt holes, probably a couple here and here and here, that will go in there to hold that piece on. Maybe one even down here, and then we'll also put one here, and bolt holes. Well, we'll have the cross member for that side. So trying to make it as strong as possible. Hopefully this will keep it from flexing too much, put too much pressure on this weld seam here. So the next step we're going to do is we have to shorten this piece by 1/2 inch. So this piece I have to cut like a line, probably down at the bottom. We're going to cut it right down the seam, 1/2 inch shorter, bring that piece up, weld it, and then that whole big piece should fit right inside this frame rail. And we're going to clean, after we're done cutting that, we're going to clean both pieces up, and then we should be pretty well ready to start like drilling some holes. We'll bolt it together and then hopefully be ready to do some welding. All right, there you can see my lines for my 1/2 inch cut that I'm going to take out of the bottom of these. And then you can also see the lines for my cut to make the ends round. So up here we're going to cut it a little short, as you see there. And we did this one as well. I don't know if you can see the 1/2 inch line in that. Might be able to. But anyway, it's the same thing. And then you can see how we rounded the corners. So we're going to do that here next. And then we'll weld them back together. Alright, so we're back. You can see we moved ahead a little bit. In the last section of the video, you can see that we were cutting the bottom edge of these pieces off. I didn't weld them in place yet. I want to make sure everything fit nice and tight, and that we had cut enough material off of there, of course. So what we're doing here is we're just dry fitting everything to see if it lines up, and it's pretty tight around here and down along here as well. And the other issue we have is when we come up to here behind this, there's a cross member here, and so I want this piece to butt up against here, and then we're gonna have the cross member right in here. So one of the things we had to do, obviously, because we're bringing the frame in, we had to weld or cut this and take pieces out of that as well. The section, I think it's about 1/2 inch, and we brought it in together. So I have yet to weld that together, but it's lining up pretty nice. Now I might put like a filler piece in here, probably put my bead, and then I might put like a little filler piece in here to just give us some added strength for flexing and things like that. Now, once we get this cross member welded, then we are going to pull the cross member out. We're going to slide the extension frames over top of this, and then we will drill our holes straight through the back here into the new frame rail. But I'm trying to figure out how to line that up so that we don't cross over some other holes that we have over there. That thing looks like, you know, Swiss cheese basically. All right, so one other thing I wanted to mention about the cross member is the reason that we put these in dry, one of the biggest things is that you got to make sure that your cross member is going to line back up. You want to make sure both of these pieces are straight and square with each other. Because you're not, you're putting one in, then you put the other one in. If they don't line up and you weld everything in place, you're screwed. So that was another reason I did that. Now, on the back side of the frame, we are going to have these bolt holes here, and that'll be part of the connection, if you will, between this and that frame rail. But up front here, we don't have any holes. Now, if I had a longer piece, I would probably have done the same thing with this cross member and made these bolts go through that piece. But I don't. It's not long enough, and we're going to use what we have. So what we're probably going to end up doing is drilling about a hole here, here, and maybe a couple more. So we're going to do that next. First thing is we're going to weld this cross member together. Then we can probably move this out, and then I can try to line up the frame rails, slide them back over top because we won't have the bolts in anymore, and see where these bolt holes line up on that frame now that we have these pieces in place. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and hopefully get close. We have to square up the chassis, make sure it's level, and then also level on the sides here, that it's nice and true with this frame, that it's all in line and straight. Once we have all that done, then we can finally weld everything. But you want to take your time with this, just like when I was cutting earlier. Those cuts were really long, it took a long time, but the more you put into something, obviously, the nicer it usually is. Alright, as you saw, we did some welding, and we also put the back half frame onto the new section here, and you can see how, like what I was talking about, how it's sliding over top of that middle piece here. Now, I forgot to mention earlier, I talked to a welder, an acquaintance that was a welder for years, and I talked to him about welding this chassis and what I should use and what wire and things like that. And he recommended that we use a flux core wire. He said it has higher tensile strength, and I've never welded flux core. So it's a learning experience. My welds look like crap as far as I'm concerned, but when I weld them, there's no holes. So that's all I'm really concerned about, full penetration and making sure that it's good and strong. All right, we're making a little more progress here. I think we've got it. I think we're about ready to weld these two halves together. I just want to point out a few things to check before you do so. First thing is underneath here, you want to sit that level on there, and you'll make sure there's no light. Make sure that level's sitting flat the whole way back. It might take a little bit to get that quite right, but you definitely want to make sure that that's flat so that both rails are straight with each other. Then you also want to take the level and put it down the side of the frame. Sorry, I'm doing that one-handed. You want to take it down the side of the frame. Now you want it straighter than that, but you want to make sure there's no light. There we go. No light between the level and the frame rails from one end to the other. That'll also make sure that your frame is true this way as well. Now, we measured the length from the cab back. The cab is very very square to the original frame when I cut it off. I checked that with a few other measurements. So what we did was we brought 2 tape measures back here and we checked the length, and actually if you look here, I think you can see that this piece was cut off crooked, and I was I was trying to measure the back here and it was 2 different lengths. It was about a ½ inch off, but now when I double check this, we're 1/8 of an inch off. So I think that's going to work. So we're going to get to welding and wrap this up. All right, we worked really far ahead here. I did a lot of the welding. On this side, I did my root pass whole way down, and then I did also the top here. I didn't fill any, actually I did. I filled some of the holes up here, and I have yet to fill all these holes here. So we're going to do that next. We also cleaned up the cross member right there where we had all the welds. That wasn't the prettiest looking welds that I've ever done, but it'll get the job done. So let's get to welding here, and once we're all done with that, we can drill some holes, put a cross member in, and paint this thing. There you can see first round of the holes anyway, and we're still a little bit shy with the weld right there. So I'm going to turn the temperature down, and we're trying to try this seam one more time. Hopefully we'll get that without getting it a little too hot, and then we're going to fill in the rest of these holes and grind them smooth. As you can see, we got all the holes filled and the seam welded up. Now we have to go underneath and weld underneath here, and then on the inside of the frame rails down in here underneath as well. Finally, after we got all that welding done, now it's time to drill holes. Alright, so one of the first things I wanted to do was apply some paint here and here, because once we put this cross member in, of course we can't get to this part of the cross member to paint it. And then I also did the inner frame just where we're going to be drilling the holes. And then once we have everything together, then I'll coat it. So I'm going to show you over here. I went the cheap route, and I got this Vevor mag drill, and it actually works pretty good. So I'm going to show you guys how that works. Alright, so what I want to show you here is we have 6 holes for the cross member. Those holes are already in this part of the frame, okay? But they're not on the outer shell of the frame. So what we're going to do is you have 3 holes here and then 3 over here. So we can just line up our bit with the existing holes, of course, and then just drill straight through. So that's what we're going to do next. So as you see here, we worked way far ahead as usual. I got the holes drilled for this cross member. I got the cross member in and all bolted up. I had to remove that cross member, and I used a bottle jack and a piece of 4x4 in here like this. Just put it on the inside of the frame rail and put my bottle jack here and then pumped it up, and it spread the rails far enough. Now I did have to convince it a little bit. We had to put a ratchet strap on this end to hold it, and then I come along on this end and get them real tight, and then I tapped it with a hammer and it slid right in. Few recommendations. One is drill all your holes before you do any welding. I did not, and I ran into some welds and I tore one of my bits, which is kind of expensive. So do that first before you get to this point, before you weld everything. Drill all the holes, put your cross members, or at least drill the holes anyway. If you can't, the cross member, you won't be able to get in there, but drill as many holes as you can before you weld, because they don't start hardening the steel, or you hit one of your welds by accident and it's going to chew up your bits. So moving on, what we're doing here is we're drilling holes. We have holes back here, and they go through the back section of the frame and the new inner frame. They are all bolted as one with this cross member. Now in the front, all we have holding on the second part of the frame to the outer part of the frame is weld. So just for reassurance, I would like to drill some more holes. So we're going to drill about 4 or 5 holes just to bolt the two together, make sure nothing happens. So one of the other things I want to show you is these are your bits, and they'll drill through. When they drill through, they'll have this little piece of the frame rail or whatever you're trying to drill in the middle there. So when you go and you drill through your first section of frame, you're going to have to stop. You'll hear the RPMs spin up higher, and you'll have to pull that pin out and then re-drill through the second section of frame. So just a quick tip for that. So yeah, so the next step is we're just gonna, I think it's 2 more holes here we're gonna drill, and then we'll bolt everything together, we'll paint it, and we will be done with this project. I'll tell you, this is not easy. It's a very difficult, hard, long process. It's been pretty hot here too, so that hasn't helped much. But yeah, let's drill these holes and paint it and call this project done. So we got everything painted. As you can see over here, we put a brief coat of black on there. Now I have plenty more of cleanup to do on this chassis to get all the rust cleaned up and everything. So we just did a quick spray on the bare metal where we were. If you walk back here, you look. If you are not inspired to go do something, to go build something, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else to do for you. This is why I do these things. I mean, I don't care who you are, that looks badass. It's far from done, I'll give you that. Far from done, but boy, is that a lot of work, and am I happy it's done. The axle's just sitting on there. It's not, there's 4 bolts holding everything there, but we have to get all that aligned, but that's about where it's gonna sit. Frame's probably 10 inches a little too long, but there's reasons for that you'll see later down the road. But anyway, so I'm sorry it took so long to get this video out. My 3rd son was born, Landon. He's just a little stinker. We call him Fuzzball because his hair is so fuzzy. But anyway, you'll see him, I'm sure, in a later episode. And I just want to thank you guys for all the support. Thank my wife for all her support and her help with these videos. And yeah, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment below. If you're not inspired, comment why. I'd like to hear that. Anyway, until next time.